Going on, Pastor? How you doing? All right. What's up, y'all? It's that time again. Hold on. All right. All right, y'all. It's Musician Sabbath Monday again. Hope everybody's Sunday and Monday went well. I know mine went okay. If you're coming in, just say what's up. Say something. Even if you're just jetting out of here, just be like, "What's up?" It's gonna be a fun night, as you always do. This topic kind of hits different, so definitely can interact. You can definitely be a part of this conversation. This is like definitely not just a church thing. So yeah, this should be fun. I'm actually on YouTube as well and Twitch. So what's up to everybody that's on there too? If there is anybody on there, this should be dope. Let's see. My Sunday was cool. Of course, church. Uh, one service. So one and done. Once we got done doing that, everything was pretty cool. I always have fun playing drums, or when I get to play drums, it's always fun. I also had to also did a worship night the night before with some family. My girl Shay, aka Shablina, she uh she did a worship night. It was pretty fun. It was pretty fun. Just kind of vibing out, nothing too crazy. Just just a nice atmosphere, just for worship and just playing music, helping to bring the presence of God in. So that was cool. It didn't take us all night. It wasn't some drawn out, forced out thing. I love that kind of thing. I love that kind of service. 'Cause that's what be kind of making stuff go forever. Trying to pull, but nah. I ain't gonna lie. Even with that, I feel like not even just with the worship night, but I do feel like sometimes church services go long because like the pulling is like taking extra time. I feel like, of course, make room for the Holy Spirit or whatever, but I feel like also sometimes you gotta just move on and they'll catch it when they catch it. You know what I mean? We can't be taking responsibility when people wake up, get dressed, go to a service just to sit there until they hear something they like or you know what I mean? So I definitely love when you come together and it's not like it don't feel like a pull. Like it don't feel like we're like playing tug of war. Like you're trying to like almost like the worship team or the praise leader is like trying to figure out, okay, what are they gonna get up to? What are they gonna get involved with? Like what song should I like? You know what I mean? I think that's something that we gotta like figure out too when it comes to having worship nights. I feel like people get too comfortable with it. Like people like worship nights, but it's like you get there and then it's like, like okay, like do I worship now or do I wait until later? But yeah, that was a nice little small recap of the worship night. It was fun, you know. It was fun. I kind of sat there, like towards the end when Shay was talking, and she was talking about like, you know, just wanting to do something. Like she felt God telling her to, just to start it up. And I understand that completely because when you building something, you know, and not to say she was thinking this per se, but it really wasn't a lot of people there, honestly. But I feel like, when you're building something, I'm learning that you still got to do it as if like you have this crazy following. Like you have to like approach it like that. So I appreciate her. for even calling on me because she could have called anybody else. Honestly, she's a singer. I'm sure she's came across a bunch of musicians, but she thought about me. You know, so I appreciate that. Um, that was a fun time. But yeah, that's my quick recap. Tonight we're gonna talk about locking in. You know what I mean? Locking in. I think that's a big part of it. It determines a lot of what goes right and what goes wrong. You feel me? I think that locking in is something. Of course, it's a term that we use now, but it pretty much is like another word for concentrate. You know what I mean? You lock in, concentrate, you focus. You know, making sure that whatever you're doing, that your mind is in the right place, that your intentions are in the right place, that whatever you're doing, you making sure that you don't have to worry about not being at your best because you're focused on you're focused on the main thing basically. Um, I was thinking about this topic like a minute ago. I wrote it down and like I'm really churchy. As you can see, like I had this robe on. Like I'm pretty much gonna probably wear this every time I gotta do this. But um, I wrote this down and I wrote it down real churchy. Like I'm not gonna lie. Like I wrote down or I typed out separate and consecrate. That's mad churchy. But like as I got closer to this day, I kind of just just made it simple. The lock in. I think that's important, especially in the time we're living in now, where like anything can be a distraction, like anything and everything. Like you'll go from just it becomes something that you do or read or see casually, then all of a sudden it's like it's almost like it takes your mind off of whatever's in front of you. So I think that's a big thing in this day and time. Like it's easy to get distracted, easy. So we're gonna talk about that. Got a couple stories with that. Um, locking in. I feel like with me personally, locking in, it's kind of easy for me because I don't let a lot of stuff in. Like I'm a very internal person, so I try not to get into too much to where like if I'm about to do something, I don't let whatever I'm dealing with or whatever I'm facing kind of like get in. So I still have my experiences with like not locking in, but like I'll be honest, like I'm a perfectionist. Okay, so I'm the kind of person where honestly, and this is just me, like I'm just keeping it 100. If I'm doing something, let's say, okay, I'm a drummer. Okay, so a lot of times, like I don't like I'm a perfectionist again. Like I said, I really don't like messing up. Like I know, like that's a bad thing to like really say because we all mess up. Like I'm really like critical of myself, and it's one of those things where like I've been in services where like if I mess up, like I have to really put forth a intentional effort to like go forward in the service without thinking about the mess up. Like I used to be really bad when I was younger. Like I would allow like a mess up to like really like throw me off for the rest of the service. Like it used to be really bad. Like and you could kind of tell like by my face that like okay, like he's withdrawn. Like he didn't got something that bothered him. He done messed up some way or he saw something and now he's just like whatever now. Again, definitely not what am I saying? Definitely not a definition of locking in. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like I've definitely been in positions where I've like I said, I've thought about something or I've allowed something to be carried with me like while I'm about to do something like in a service, like I'm thinking about it too much and like now I'm in a service like I'm distracted. Like I'm doing my job because like I'm gifted to do it. So it's easy for me to like kind of try to come off like I'm not bothered by something, but eventually it comes out because that's just especially if I mess up, it's like, oh my gosh, like at first I wasn't messing up, but I had that going on. But now I done messed up, so now it's like I gotta like filter through my feelings, my thoughts, like on the spot. It'd be like that sometimes. Um, I'm trying to figure out whether I want to tell this transparent story or not. An example of not being locked in. So, some years back, I think like mad years ago, I was playing at a small church. What is small church? I was playing at a church, and is this really being not locked in? Okay, it's my definition. I'm just say it. So, the night before, I definitely had an edible. I'm not gonna lie, just being transparent, and it was my first time. Okay, and and it wasn't like a whole like it wasn't like a big piece of one. It was just like a little gummy. Cool. What I didn't know was that I was still going to be under the influence of that gummy like into the next day. Like I felt fine. Like I didn't feel crazy, but I definitely knew that I was definitely like that gummy was still in there. Like it was still in my system like like crazy. I felt really bad because like I had to play. It was a Sunday. I had to play. And although I could still kind of function, I still kind of like I kind of knew that I was still high. I ain't gonna I was still kind of high. So, and honestly, that's not even me. That's not my thing. Like I'm not a get high person or edible person or a smoker or whatever, but I kind of felt bad because normally my normal routine, I kind of focus on what I need to focus on. I'll, listen to the songs I gotta do for the Sunday, or I gotta like I'll pray, of course. You know what I mean? That particular weekend, I did not pray. I just kind of, yeah, that thing, that gummy settled in my system, and that's all she wrote. You know what I mean? Now I wasn't out here. I didn't look crazy. You know what I mean? I looked normal, smiling, saying hello to people, but you know, I had glasses on too, so hopefully it wasn't visible that I was, an influence. But it's just one of them things where like, yeah, I was kind of like never again, never again, because that's just not me. I don't do drugs. I don't get high. You know, yeah, that ain't me. So you're talking about locking in. Um, when it comes to that, I feel like it depends on the person. Whatever you set out to do, I feel like there's always going to be something that's going to come as a distraction, especially if you're trying to make a conscious effort to like abstain from it, right? So I honestly feel like, you know, like I said before, I think last Monday, like some people in church will make it seem like, once you get over something, it's like gone from your life forever. And a lot of times that ain't really the case. I feel like that's only the case if you ain't trying to do nothing. You know what I mean? Like, like that can only happen. Like I say like this: the only way if you have a drinking thing, right, to where like, okay, when you drink, you kind of get a certain way, or when you drink, you kind of like, you're not the person that you should be. The only way that you're gonna overcome not drinking is if you literally stay in the house 24/7, never go out nowhere, not have drinks in your house, and you just in your pajamas all day in the house, like just stuck. That's the only way. But of course, realistically, when you want to do something or you set your mind to do something, there's always going to be something that's going to like make you almost go the other way. You feel me? So, that's just one thing. And it also, I ain't gonna say it sucks because it's real life, but it's just crazy how almost like when you literally say what you don't want to do, what you don't want to get close to, what you don't want to, you know, get involved in, or what you fear could happen. It's almost like the thing that could cause whatever, it's like it always tends to like try to like make its way to you. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like it's a weird thing. You know what I mean? And pretty much what it is like almost you want to say locking in. Discipline's a big thing. Discipline's a big thing. You know what I mean? Like I said, especially as a musician in church, I feel like when it comes to that, like that's a sacred thing. Like to me, like I've always grew up like ministry, like it's a serious thing. You can have fun, and ministry is fun, but like you got to remember who you're doing it for, which is why I was actually telling one of my homies that I saw. You know, he was one of the singers. My boy CJ Pitts. He's a singer too. He nice. Um, he was telling me like if I was ready for the worship night, and I was like, yeah, you know what I mean. And I was telling him how like I was nervous, you know, and he said, you know, pretty much like just remember, you know, it's unto him, and yeah, you know, I agreed with that. I just also thought that like for me, it's a healthy nervousness. You know what I mean? Like for me, ministry is not just something that I can just like do any old thing and just get up there and just start playing. Like that, I feel like that's just not who I like. I'm not that musician. Like I'm like it ain't even a churchy thing. Like that's just like I was brought up that way. Like you don't just do whatever you want to do and then just like you just gonna get up there and you just gonna be effective because of a gift that you have. Like nah, like that's I'm not that kind of musician. So, you know, I always say that's a healthy a healthy like nervousness. I don't want to say fear, like a healthy nervousness because hey Shay, I was just talking about you. The worship night was really good. The worship night was really good for real. You inspired me as well. You inspired me for real. Cause like I said before you came on, like building something is no joke, and sometimes it's gonna feel like you the only one that's building. But like keep going for real, cause it's gonna be people that's gonna need what you doing. They're gonna need what you're building for real, and some of them ain't gonna help you. So and you got help. You know what I mean? The people that you were just rocking with, we got you. You know what I mean? Even if even if you be like, I'm gonna try another drummer or try another whatever, we got you. Cause like I said, I was watching you, listening to you talk, after it was over, and I was definitely like, yeah, like this is how it is to build something. You gotta build it regardless. Especially if God gave it to you, listen, perfect time to lock in. Perfect time to lock in. Um, I forgot what I was saying before. But yeah, like I'm just the kind of musician where I can't just be like out here going crazy. And that's not to say that I never have, because I have. Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome. Um, yeah, like I'm not gonna say I've never done it before. Like I've never like taken a shot or something before. Like, but again, growing up and maturing is realizing that like you can't put everything in your body. You can't approach your instrument or approach your ministry in just any kind of way because you're just so gifted, and whether you sober or whether you high or whether you pissed off, you can just do it because that's just what you can do. Like nah, like I never want to take my gift or even God's grace for granted. That's why it's important to be locked in, because when you're locked in, you don't allow things to come into the space of like needing to be effective in ministry. And that's whether you're getting paid or not. That's whether you're getting a love offering or not. Like being locked in is just really you, especially like I said, in the church world, it's really you just making sure that your attention, intentions are on the task at hand. That's why I'm glad for my church background, because growing up, you know, they always sung that song or always said, at some point, only what you do for Christ will last. And you gotta lock into that as well. you know, because when you lean into what the Lord assigned you for you to do, it really like kind of inspire put almost puts a fire in you because you know that like God trusts you with responsibility of his his gift that he's given to you. And what I love about it is it's not just a gift that he gives to you, but it's a gift that he gives to you that he doesn't regret giving to you. Even when you mess up, even when even when you fall short, even when you aren't locked in, even when you do allow someone, something to distract you, or someone or something to, kind of take you off your game to where you're not 100%, or even when you're not, even when it's something that makes you or cause you to not even be effective totally, it's still a gift that he doesn't regret giving you. Like when you mess up, his first thought is not to see what you'll do if he takes your gift totally. Like, nah, nah. Because if that was the case for real, that would make God like man. Because man will, and we still talking about being locked in, but man will get upset with you and want to take back everything that they gave to you that's attached to them. Man will feel a way about you or feel a way about how you feel about somebody else and be like, never mind. And that's how locked in God is about us. I'm not trying to preach whatever, but you know what I mean? But like that's how locked in God is about us. He don't regret giving you the gift. He don't regret assigning you, you know, your gift, your calling. He doesn't regret, you know, creating you, which is why as Shay's worship night title, it's our reasonable service to like lock in with him when we share our gift. Seriously. Because as much, even with our closest friend, God, Jesus is the only person who will give you something, and his first thought would never be to take it back. It'll never be to take it away or to dangle it in front of you or to, you know, hold it up, up top of your head and be like, like, you want this? You gotta get like he's not gonna do that. He's not gonna do that. Now, will he withhold something from you? Yes. But he is not going to unrighteously give you something and then regret it. Nah. That's why again our reasonable service, we have no choice but to you gotta make sure that whatever you're doing, and it don't have to be like a ministry thing. It ain't gotta be, you know, just a musician. It could be being an usher, being a trustee, being an adjutant, being a greeter. It's only right that we lock in by making sure our intentions, our attention, and even how we treat people is locked in to how God would want you to present it. You know, that's just really the gist of it. And like I said, it's not easy because it's always gonna seem like whenever you want to do something and you decide to lock in and you make that conscious effort to lock in, it's always gonna seem like something's always coming up. Like I'm not gonna lie, like it feels like every time, every time I make an effort or I make a choice internally to like save money, my intention is to save money because I want to do X, Y, and Z. I'm saving up for X. Like I'm purposely cutting down on spending a certain amount of money at X, Y, and Z. Next thing you know, here comes a need that requires money. Something breaks, I lose something, you know, I forget something, you know, I forget a charger or I forget, an adapter piece, knowing I only have one left, but I forget it. Like that's kind of stuff. It's like it's always something. It's always something. But even in then, you gotta lock in. You gotta keep that focus. That's another word too. Focus. And sometimes even a part of locking in for real is even it's the word that we use in church. Listen. That's right. That's right. That's right. And then another word that we can use for locking in is also you will have to consecrate sometimes. You gonna have to consecrate. You gonna have to, you know, consecration is actually honestly just, off of what I've known about even just that word in general itself is you got to take time out to really set your mind to that one thing. Like I know when I have to play somewhere, sometimes consecrating means okay, I'm taking time out of a part of my day that I wouldn't normally take out the time for to like pray, rehearse, listen to something that's gonna like build your spirit. I think sometimes that's the issue too. I think that sometimes you can get so caught up in being gifted in something that like you ain't really thinking about locking in. You're just comfortable in the fact that you can do something. Like, okay, I can play, so it's just another Sunday. It's just another rehearsal. It's just another gathering. You know what I mean? And that's actually what I be thinking about, even like worship nights. I thought about that when I was driving home after the worship night. Is how a lot of times people get very comfortable. They get tired of worship nights, they say, but I think it's not. For me, I feel like it's not always just being tired of worship nights. I feel like also our expectations get lower because I think we stop the expectations at the music, the song, the shouting. Now, mind you, I do kind of be like, all right, like I ain't trying to be out here shouting all night, but at the same time, I think that a lot of times our expectations aren't really where they should be because we're expecting like a certain thing. It's like, okay, I knew they was gonna shout. Okay, but my thing is like that shouldn't set the temperature of your reason for coming to a worship night. Even the congregants who are coming to enjoy the music or enjoy the worship or to, you know, join in the worship, the praise, whatever, like even that requires locking in. You know what I mean? Do you know how much locking in it takes for you to be in the band or be in the worship team or even be a worship leader and you and the team, singers, musicians, y'all locked in, and you looking at people with stone faces, they looking like they really don't care for whatever you singing. They look like they really just, you know, they like I said, they literally look like they do this every week, and they're just coming in because they know that Sunday is the day that they're supposed to come to church. Well, okay, it's I got to get up at 8 o'clock to get to church at 9. All right, I know I got to get up at 7 so I can take my shower and be ready to go. And you know what I mean? Like, I think sometimes, even from the crowd perspective, I think sometimes expectations are getting like low because it's like, okay, you're too comfortable with the same thing. Like, it's a new week. I totally get why worship leaders always start with that. Like, praise God because you made it through another week. You were able to get up under your own strength. Of course, God, wakes you up and whatever, but you didn't have to get assisted to the bathroom to brush your teeth. You could get your own clothes. Nobody had to wipe your butt. Like that's like stuff like that sounds funny, but there's literally people who can't even walk to the bathroom on their own. Like that's like I think sometimes we don't lean into the fact that like that stuff we take for granted, but there's people even like when worship leaders um try to I don't want to say coach, but they pretty much they're pushing like they're pushing for a certain atmosphere. You know, there's literally people who who die in their sleep. Literally people who again who can't whose lives you know even people like this, even people who where their body doesn't match their age. What do I mean by that? You 21 and you can't get around on your own. You 21 with the body of a senior citizen who needs assisted living. And that's no shade to nobody who to an old person that has assisted living, but that's kind of what it's like that's a big deal. People are out here dying, passing out. You know what I mean? And from again from the perspective of the crowd or of the worship leader, it's like, bro, y'all got to come on. So even as people who are in the congregation, you got to lock in too with that. When you're in your worship service, when you're in your local assembly, like think about that. You're already kind of given or being given a mandate, even biblically, right? Let me see if I can find that joint. Let's see. Yes, like you know, you get mandated to enter into his gates with thanksgiving, into his court, like stuff like that. So it to me, it can be frustrating as a worship leader or even as a band that like, okay, we ain't here killing. Thank glory be to God, of course. But we ain't here killing. And it's almost like y'all it's almost like when you got your phone on shuffle, right? And it seemed like every song that you go to is just not the one. You ain't moved by none of the songs that you don't went to, but you finally get that one song. You like, there we go, yeah. It's like a congregation will literally do that. They will barely move. I was watching a live stream of a church, and they showed the crowd, right? They showed the crowd, and among all the sea of people that was there, it was like two or three people that was standing up, actually getting involved in service. And it's almost like in mind you, the church is packed, but it's like, okay, so the Lord ain't done nothing for y'all. Like y'all literally like y'all kind of sitting there as if like I just like the example I just mentioned. Y'all kind of sitting there like you got you got your phone on shuffle, and every song you done heard, it ain't the one. Like what? Like for real, like it's almost like you want to say like the Saints should be walking. There was a time about 5 years ago where where We couldn't meet in churches, right? Like we it was COVID. We were literally spending months, you know, the only people that were allowed to even meet at churches were the pastor and the music ministry or whoever was preaching for that Sunday. So y'all in the congregation, I ain't trying to fuss at y'all. I ain't trying to fuss at y'all, but y'all gotta lock in too. You know what I mean? You gotta, you know what I mean? The same way again with the music ministry or whatever ministry is bringing forth, rendering anything on a Sunday. Both it goes hand in hand, just like this church fast, a corporate church fast. Y'all ever noticed that when a church goes on a fast collectively, and I mean everybody doing the same thing at the same time, dedicated to, just the unity of it, like a church can go on a corporate fast with each other together for a whole week or 2 weeks. You turn around and that Sunday, that it's like that last Sunday of the fast, like church is just bonkers. Church is going crazy. Like that's because there's a lock in. There's a lock in where, you know, everybody's doing the same thing with the same intention. The pastor or leader, they pretty much give the outline. Okay, we're fasting for this. Here's a list of things to pray for. Here's what you can't eat from this time to this time. You can't eat certain things after this time. Like, and it's just something about when everybody collectively locks in and decides, hey, we're going to do this. Not just because of pastor putting the rule out or laying down the law or saying this is what we're going to do, but because we believe what fasting and consecrating does. Like, you know what I mean? So listen, locking in. There's so many different ways of locking in, bro. Like I said, every church that I've been a part of or even just worked at and they've done a fast, that last Sunday of the fast, church was always killing. And it was more, and my thing is like that Sunday, that last Sunday of the fast, everything was just jumping. Everything was just magnified. The presence of the Lord was there. Whatever the praise team was singing, it was, it was just hitting. The band was on another level. Like that's just it's the unity. Seriously, every church I've ever either been a part of or worked at, it's always been like that. Always, because it's something about being unified. Everybody's doing the same thing. We're believing in God for this, so we're turning our plates down for this, and we're setting time aside so we can hear from the Lord, or so we can feed our spirit while we're fasting. It's something about a lock in. It's something about a lock in that makes you more effective. It's something about a lock in that it almost like it gives you tunnel vision. It gives you tunnel vision. It causes you to see things clearer. You're not even looking for anything else because you're focused on what's ahead of you. Seriously. You know what I mean? Sometimes you may have to, you're gonna have to not get on social media until after your service is over. You're gonna have to stay off certain pages and certain websites and you know what I mean? There's certain things you just can't do because you know, a lot of times as creatives, as musicians, singers, like what we listen to, what we allow in our ear gates, what we talk about, sometimes that stuff kind of leaks out. It leaks out into our playing. It leaks out into the atmosphere. Seriously. So, again, locking in, it depends on the person, but it's going to take certain things for you to really lock in. You know, I wouldn't recommend people drinking before they have to minister, but I will say this. I think that, you know, almost like this. Sorry to cut myself off. It's almost like if you know something's not good for you, it's good for you not to partake in it. If you, like I said before, if you know that drinking alcohol, you know, kind of, you can't just drink one drink and be done. You probably shouldn't drink. People, that fake thing about moderation. If you know that ain't no such thing as drinking in moderation is not a thing for you, you gotta lock in and make a decision to like not partake in that. For real. Some things you have to like you have to know. Especially if you know that it doesn't really do you any good, you gotta lock in and get away from that. Because I think a lot of times what messes us up and what what makes us undisciplined is kind of faking like faking as if like we can discipline ourselves or faking it to make it seem like I know how much I can handle. I know how much I can drink before I lose it. I know how much I can eat before, you know, I start going to another realm of hunger. Like, nah, nah. You know good and well that you can't handle just drinking one shot. That ain't you. You know your tolerance for drinking is low. Is low. Don't lie to yourself and be like, yeah, I can do it. It's not that serious. I'll just have one to be done. Nah, you about 5 shots in, 5 toasts later, and you can barely even keep your eyes open. You can barely even speak clearly. And mind you, again, this is outside of church. Locking in takes discipline. It takes you keeping it 100 with yourself, knowing, hey, I can't handle all this. I can't fake it. I can't sit here and act like, hey, I can do this. This is nothing for me. Nah. Mm-mm. And even with this, I saw a post right on Facebook, and it's a guy that was saying how I guess there was a preacher who did a revival, I believe. He preached a 3 night revival, right? And I don't really feel like reading the whole thing because it's kind of a lot. But it's one of them things where, case in point, he pretty much opened his envelope and he only had $25 in there. And before I even go further, let me mention this major detail. They raised an offering that was quote unquote for the speaker, and the offering was $8,000. He got 25 of it. I will say this because this is a two-way street. For the church that did that to him, we have to be honest about where we are financially when it comes to stuff like this. When you're booking preachers, when you're booking musicians, when you're booking worship leaders, I feel like know you should kind of know what you can afford. You should kind of know what you can afford before you just start trying to book people and be like, oh well, whatever the love offering is, we just going to get that to you. Nah, what's wrong with you? Why? Huh? Not made you mad. Mommy popped your leg. Are you being good? Why she pop your leg? Yeah, why? Why you being good? Sorry, I'm talking to my son. You upset? He's upset at you. So yeah, sorry y'all. That's my son. I had to rap him a little bit. But again, like churches, y'all gotta start being more like honest about that stuff. And even with that, like the integral part, if you say that the offering was for the preacher, why would you give the preacher $25? It's like it's almost like before y'all found out it was gonna be $8,000. It's like y'all said it was for the preacher, but y'all weren't expecting it to be at that $8,000. At that point, the integral thing is to keep your word. If the offering is for the preacher, you said we're gonna bless the preacher, we're gonna bless the man of God, we're gonna, we're gonna raise an offering for him. Again, it sounds like they didn't really know that they were gonna raise that much money. But even then, if you say that that offering for the preacher is for the preacher, I want to know what the conversation was ahead of time because I feel like when it comes like these days, I feel like everything should be in writing and communicated clearly because I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't have went home. First of all, and I'm not saying this is totally the preacher's fault because, like I said, it was messed up. I do, I would say, but when they give you these envelopes, look at them Johns, look inside them envelopes while you're in front of them. You gotta do that these days. Just like you go to a fast food restaurant and when you drive off the drive through, when you get your food out the actual building, you gotta really like look inside the bag because these days some of these workers they really don't be caring about what they doing. They're not careful. Some of them don't know how to multitask. They don't know how to bag your order while looking at the person that's ordering after you. They don't know how to do that. Everybody can't do that. That's a skill in itself. But you know, I just think that churches have to be more integral. Again, reading it now, it looks like they did not know that they were going to raise that much money. It is not the preacher's fault, you know, that you had other expenses to cover. It is not the preacher's fault that you know outside of him that you needed to take care of other expenses and make sure you had other bills taken care of. That ain't his fault. They should have gave that man that $8,000. And like I said, that I think that they weren't expecting for that much money to be raised. And kudos to him because I feel like he must have preached his behind off in that revival. And I think stuff like that when it comes to like even preachers, whether you're a preacher or a musician, I think that you should definitely start. There needs to be a conversation and then something in writing. Okay, so how are we handling this payment? And I will say this: this is a pet peeve of mine. If you ask me to play, right, why am I asking you all the questions? I feel like if you ask me to play for you, whether it's a service, a concert, whether it's in any kind of thing where it requires me to you know invest my time into whatever you trying to do, I feel like you should come to that person that you're trying to book and give them all the information. Like if you say, "Hey, I got this gig for you," and I say, "Okay," I shouldn't be interviewing you. I shouldn't be asking you, "Okay, where's that? Okay, how much they charging? Okay, who's in the band?" I feel like stuff like that. Oh, where's that? What's the address? What's the songs? Like I feel like that's the kind of thing that the person that's trying to book you should already be ready to give you. At least after they say okay. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I saw this on Facebook in a group too, and I agree with it. It's almost like you should give me the details, right? And after you give me the date and what time or whatever, and you give me all the details or whatever, you should ask me then, are you available? Let me decide whether I want to do it or not. Because while you're telling me that, I'm also wondering, do I really feel like leaving my house? Do I really feel like packing up my stuff? You know what I mean? Do I feel like packing my drums? Do I feel like packing my cymbals? And especially if it's a place that I've never been to before. Hey, I need to know the details. I don't want to be interviewing you as if I'm trying to book you. No, you're trying to book me respectfully. You're trying to book me, and I'm asking you 4 or 5 questions because I know nothing about the gig that you're trying to give me. I know nothing about whatever opportunity you saying that you got for me to play somewhere or to sing somewhere or to minister somewhere or whatever. Like I shouldn't be asking you everything. Only thing that I should be, wondering, or one thing that I should be telling you after you give me information is whether I'm gonna do it or not. Because I've been in situations where people ask me to play, and of course because I was young and because I had nothing else to do. I like playing drums. I'll just be like, okay, cool, yeah, okay. And then later on, I kind of get details. But nah, these days I'm too old for that. I need the information. I need the information. Are we rehearsing? How many songs? Where is it at? How far is it? What the drums look like? Listen, that too. What the drums look like? What's the setup? Are we gonna be using tracks? You know, I need at this point again because and I'm an introvert too. I need to know, is it worth me getting out my house? I need to know, is it worth me packing my stuff up? Is it worth me taking time out my work day while I'm trying to work, listening to these particular songs that I to where I may not even like the songs, but I'm going to learn them and listen to them because that's the professional thing to do. Is it worth that? You know, locking in, locking on the business side of church. You know, I feel like again, I wonder if there was a conversation with this because at this point, if I'm a preacher, and I even just talking about the preacher guy here, and I don't want to say his name because I don't really know him personally, and I don't want it to come off like I'm trying to like make an example out of him. You know what I mean? In a way, in a negative way. But we gotta start having conversations, and when you're the person that they're trying to book, you gotta make that conversation happen. If they don't bring it up, you gotta bring it up. Okay, so how we doing this? Okay, so how we doing this payment thing? If you gotta ask for a deposit, that works too. And like I said, get it in writing. Get confirmation in some kind of text or in some kind of I don't want to say phone call because you don't want to be like out here being known for recording conversations, but like in some kind of contract, present a contract. Because one thing I've seen too many instances of with the church is that like you'll do something in church, and whatever you thought they was gonna give you, they will change their mind and act like they never owed it to you, or act like they never made an agreement with you. And that's corny, but it happens. It happens, and unfortunately, it happens in church. They'll give you something and even put a little church on it. Yeah, the Lord let me. Da, 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 da. The Lord wants me. Da, 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 da. The Lord said to give you. Da, da, da. And then all of a sudden, when certain things change, it's almost like, oh well, we're gonna save this for, we're gonna do this instead. Like, nah, you can't trust everybody's word. So yeah, I would definitely love to know because, like I said, and even on the other side of, again, on the preacher side or the person that's being booked on that side, I think that's the first thing. And again, I understand the whole, like, God, give you an assignment to do X, Y, and Z. But I think sometimes you gotta just be like, do I feel like really leaving my house? Do I really want to, do I really feel like leaving my house, getting dressed up? If you're a preacher, do I really feel like wearing my best preaching garment? Musician, do I really feel like carrying my laptop and packing up my stuff, packing up my interface, and you know, buying drumsticks if I need some, or making track? Like, do I really feel like all that? Sometimes locking in is also being of a sober mind. Because when I was younger and I just wanted to play drums, I think I don't think I had a really sober mind when it came to like what I was saying yes or no to. I just wanted to play. When I was younger, I was just like, "Oh, you want me to play? Okay, just tell me what time. Just tell me where it's at." You know what I mean? Especially when I didn't have my license either, and I was willing to take Ubers and willing to take the bus, and the crazy part is that's crazy though because you know first for one, Ubers and Lyfts and stuff like that stuff adds up. Even if your ride is only $6, that stuff adds up. If you call yourself taking that stuff faithfully, it adds up. And then for the bus, oh my gosh, like taking a bus, like you would have to literally plan the trip almost hours in advance just to make sure that you're on the right bus at the right time. Even if the bus is late, you want to be able to say that you caught the right bus because them buses sometimes they come by every hour and you can't afford to miss no bus. Shoot, I remember days of like packing up, I would be getting on the bus with my whole cymbal bag and my snare, having to make it work. Seriously. And I drive now, but still, when somebody asks me something now at this age that I'm at, because I don't necessarily need to be playing everywhere all the time, I definitely be like, listen, how much are y'all offering? And then I'm thinking to myself, do I really feel like getting out of my house for this? Locking in. Because, like I said before, locking in, it'll have your mind clear and you'll be thinking about all the benefits, all the pros, all the cons. It'll put a balance to that zeal that you have. So that way, it's not just you being hype. You're not just hype. You're actually thinking things through. You know what I mean? Many a times I'd have been set up before, and may not have been set up as far as like intentionally trying to like make me look crazy but I done arrived at the church, get there and be like, bruh, they could have used Deacon John on drums. They did not need me. Especially, if you know that you can really play, or you can really, you're really gifted. Now it may be different for preachers. It may be different for preachers, but for musicians, it's almost like you can go into a church and be like, now I'm gonna give my best as always because I'm doing it unto the Lord, and I'm not doing it for a person to be impressed or trying to be seen. But I could have been home. You could have just got Deacon Cleophas to, to get on these drums and play devotionals for real, for real. You know what I mean? So again, just locking in. I feel bad for this person because getting $25 in ones out of an $8,000 offering is crazy. And also, preachers, don't y'all depend on these love offerings. In my opinion, don't let them tell you, well, whatever we raise for the love offering for the preacher, you know, that's what we're going to use. Then that can be yours. Nah, nah. Mm-mm. Give them a number. This is what I need. And again, get it in writing, get it recorded somewhere so that it can't be said, well, you didn't say that. Yes, I did. It's right here. It's right here. It's right here. I got it right here. It's right here in writing, right here. It's right here in the text. I told you my requirements. I told you what I wanted. You can't say it. I didn't tell you. You can't say you didn't know. I'm sorry that you didn't see the message, but the message is still there. I'm so sorry that you said you didn't see it until a couple minutes ago, but the message is there. You can't say it's not there because it's there. For real. I feel bad for the dude because again, I'm pretty sure he thought they were integral and about their business. He didn't expect to open up the envelope and find $25 in ones in the envelope. Again, after being made aware that there was $8,000 raised for an offering that was supposed to be quote unquote for the preacher. Churches have to be more integral than that. If the offering's for the preacher, it's for the preacher. I'm so sorry if you have some regret about that now. I'm so sorry that you may want to backtrack because you raised way more money in that offering than you thought, but that ain't got nothing to do with the preacher. Now, if the preacher decides that he wants to split it in whatever way he wants to split it with you, or he wants to take a certain amount, a certain chunk, and then give you whatever's left over, that's on him. But to give or raise an offering that you say is for the preacher, that you say the intention is to bless the man of God, and then to pretty much renege and be like, well, we'll just give you $25. Like to me, that's whack. That's whack. That's corny. That's corny. And I get, like I said, I guarantee you, just from what I read, I think that that's probably again the church's stance was probably they didn't think, you know what I mean? You didn't think you was gonna get that much money raised. You didn't think you was gonna get that much money raised. So you kind of had second thoughts like, it's kind of similar to, and I've seen this on a couple of occasions, and I'm not gonna name no names, but it's almost like I've seen some occasions where like pastors have given their church over to somebody else to take over as pastor. They quote unquote retire, and it's almost as if like that person that they brought in brings in more members, which brings in more money for more resources, and then all of a sudden the pastor comes in and says, "You know what? On second thought, I think I need to come back." It's like, wait, what? Huh? You know, especially because again, I know the pastor talk. You know, they'll Your nose. You want mommy to help you? It's okay. Brayden, you're a big boy. You don't have to cry. You're okay. Let mommy help you. So anyway, guys. So yeah, you guys are having conversations about this stuff ahead of time. Cause I've been called cutthroat for this, but I believe in not giving nobody the chance to play you. So if I'm not sure about something or something seems off, I'm gonna ask, hey, how much is the pay? It's, I mean, I don't like having to interview people that's trying to bring me in, but if they not trying to really give me that information up front, I'm gonna ask. So hey, who's in the band? Where's this church at? How much are they paying? Because I need to know. I need to know who I'm working with. I need to know what's the budget. Because I'm like I said, I'm in the point of my life. I'm 33. I'm not just out here just saying yes to everything just because it's an opportunity. That's just not, and that's just not even speaking from. That's not being arrogant. That's just being about my business. You ain't gonna take my love for what I do and just lure me into doing something, and then it's almost like, oh well, he said yes. He just gonna do it because he like. No, I love to play and I love the Lord. I do it for the Lord. But I don't been there, done that. Got a T-shirt for it. I am not setting myself up to be used. That ain't it. I got bills. Locking in. Okay. So yeah, locking in. Lana, I did not see you at the worship night, but yeah, that's something I feel like you know. It's just little things, and it's sad that you have to be that guarded when it comes to church because you would think that like, okay, you know, God's people we talking about, you know, you got to do the right thing, you know. But no, you got to make sure because it's almost like if you don't mention it, they not gonna mention it. You know, if they don't say anything about payment or being paid, they not gonna mention it either. Or if they mention it, they gonna think that you don't care about whatever you're getting. They're gonna think that you cool with $50. They're gonna think you cool with $25. Now I don't know what it was about this church here that thought that that was okay for them to, you know, just give him $25 in ones, but that's wild. And y'all doing this to a grown man with a wife. And then another part of this post was that you know, let's see, his car broke down and he couldn't move it. The car couldn't move. So naturally, because you just came out of a 3 night revival, you're looking in the envelope that they gave you with your money in it, and you don't have no money like that to really handle the situation like you want to. That's the only advice I would have given to him if I know the dude, if I knew the dude, I would tell him next time look in the envelope before you leave. You got to do that because again, you know, they pocketed the rest of that money for their own expenses because again, they likely did not expect for they didn't expect for that offering to be that amount. Good. They didn't expect that. They thought it was going to be whatever amount they were expecting, they did not expect $8,000 to be the amount that it was. You got to lock into that integrity as well. And again, it's sad you have to say that about church people, but again, you know, and it's crazy because when creatives like musicians, when we do stuff like have contracts and we talk about we want to talk about pay and we have questions about the details of whatever we're about to do, we get called arrogant, we get called selfish. It's said that that's all we care about is money. Well, the reason why some of us are like that now is because we've been played before. We've said yes without knowing the details, and then we weren't taken care of. We've said yes out of the kindness of our heart, but then at the end of service, we're waiting for a check, and then we're told, oh, we don't, we can't give you, we don't have the check ready, or you know, we don't have it to give. What? You know what I mean? So it's crazy, but listen, lock in, because truth of the matter is, I can be about my father's business, but still want to be handled right on the business end. I can, you know, be ministry minded, but still make sure, hey, if you told me I'm getting paid 150, I want the 150. I ain't got nothing to do with why you came up short. We agreed on 150. I love the Lord. I love, serving, but we agreed on X, Y, and Z. Okay. Okay. You know, lock in. You may be called arrogant. You might be called money hungry, but listen, these days, listen, we living in the last days. We can't afford just to be investing our time and investing our money, investing gas that's in the car, just to be getting played because we just doing stuff in good faith. Nah. Mm-mm. Nah. Times are hard. Rent is going up. Food prices are going up. Gas is going up. Ain't nobody got time to be getting played on purpose or getting played and letting it slide. I hope dude makes all of that 8,000 back and more. Seriously. I remember one time I did a gig. You okay? You wanna get out? You wanna get down? Hmm? Okay. I remember, I was playing at a church before and they gave me $25. And I'm like it's like what? And I'm filling in. You know what I mean? And I'm just in my mind like, bro, this can't be it. This ain't it. But that taught me a lesson. What I just said. From now on, I am not just gonna say yes just to be saying yes, just because I wanna play. Okay, no, mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. Because I feel like sometimes people take advantage of this. Like I said, people take advantage of the zeal. They take advantage of the fact that you don't mind. They take advantage of the fact that you love what you do. They take advantage of the fact that you're ministry minded. They take advantage of the fact that you keep God at the center, or even sometimes they take advantage of the fact that money isn't your main line. Money isn't your main thing. But that don't mean just give me any old thing and act like it's just supposed to be okay. Nah. But again, that's why lock in by having those conversations ahead of time. So there's no miscommunication. Oh, I thought you was gonna get nope. Mm-mm. No, no, you're not doing that. No, nope. I remember one time I filled in for someone, a homie of mine. We still homies, nothing against him. But I remember I was filling in for him one time. Again, I know from experience, these are personal topics. I filled in for him, played, you cool? And played, and then I call myself waiting outside or waiting outside the sanctuary, waiting for somebody to, say something about a check or whatever. Nobody ever came by me or anything. Matter of fact, the musician that I was working alongside for that night, for that, short service, he walked past me and was like, yo, thank you, you sound good. I'm like, thank you. But I'm expecting for him to be like, yeah, this person's over here, they're gonna make sure you taken care of. Bruh, never got paid. Never got paid. Now, that easily is the fault of the person that brought me in because, you know, whoever you're replacing, they're responsible to make sure that you're good between them and whoever is administering music. But I ain't get a dime. I was salty, and I didn't drive. I didn't drive at the time, so a Uber to and from wherever I came from to play a gig and not even make up the difference. No money. I messed around and did a free gig. Hold on. Did a free gig, and I asked no questions. I just was like, okay, yeah, cool, cool, cool. Mm-mm. That's why I always say, if people really respect your time and they really care about what you got going on and they really care about your gift, they will put that stuff out there for you. It won't have to be an interview with you trying to figure out, okay, you know, they won't always, they don't have to, they don't have to feel like they're hiding the information. They just want to tell you, hey, I got this gig at such and such church. They're paying whatever. I got a organist, I got a bass player, I got a keyboardist, I got a electric, like I got all that stuff. They're pretty good. It should be fun. You only got to play about four something like whatever. It's in the details. It's in the details. So that's the main thing. Locking in, you know. And like I said, I think the main thing for me out of all that I've said, I think locking in is really important when it comes to preparation for something. When you're preparing for something, it's important to lock in. Don't let nothing come into your space that's gonna take you off your circle, off your square. And like I said, you know, you got to make sure that you're also putting yourself in position to where like you can't fall for the okey doke of distraction. You cold? Hmm? You gonna mommy? Tell her you're cold. But you got to make sure, because like I said before in the beginning, we live in a time where everything is a distraction. You got to lock in so much as you can't give anything a chance to grow into a distraction. You can't give anything a chance to even turn into one because you know you're easily able to indulge in something. There's this thing called a rabbit hole, to where like you watch a video of something that you may be fond of, and then 30 minutes later, you're watching the same video, but a different location or different people, or, you know what I mean? It's like you just, it's like people who like watching videos of people getting their pimples popped. That's nasty, by the way. But it's people that like watching stuff like that, and they can watch that stuff all day. They can scroll, they can scroll Instagram, they can look up, you know, certain episodes of shows, or they can look up a playlist of videos on YouTube of people getting their pimples popped. Like, and that may not be a distraction as far as, not being able to lock in, but it's also it's also a thing where, everybody has different vices. The vices may be drinking, maybe smoking. It may be, you know, overthinking. Again, which is why it's also important to consecrate, separate and consecrate. Almost like this. If you are trying to escape something, if you're trying to make a conscious effort to do something or to not do something, it may not be wise to hang around people who are doing that very same thing. It's almost like if, like I said, again, use the smoker thing. If you are trying to stop smoking, you close the door. Hold on. Anyway, if you are trying to stop smoking, right, or at least cut down on it, or you're trying to abstain from it because you're trying to focus on something, or you're trying to make sure that you're on point for something, it wouldn't make sense to be around all your friends that smoke, because it's easy to be like, well, I'm not gonna do it, I'm not gonna do it. But if you know that there's something about smoking that really draws you in to want to join in with the other guys that smoke, it's gonna be hard for you to lock in and to not smoke. Same thing when it comes to drinking, when it comes to partying. Like I said, mm-mm. Like if I was a person who went to parties, I would not be able to go to a party on a Saturday and then just expect to be in church on a Sunday. No. Mm-mm. And if you can do that, congrats, congrats, because that's something that's something that to me that's a skill. You know what I mean? Because I know when I'm locking into something, I make sure that even aside from consecrating, I prepare myself in other ways. Like with this, the streaming, I don't want to call it a podcast yet, but the streaming thing, like I try to make sure whatever resources I have, I can use it. So I can make sure it's the best quality content I can have. And sometimes you may have to use certain resources like YouTube. Okay, how do I plug this in to make it sound like this? How do I, you know, how do I make it so it don't sound like this? I think that, you know, again, everybody's different. Everybody has different vices. Everybody has, something that makes them tick. But again, you know you, you know you. And I think that a part of that, again, locking in is also being real with yourself and knowing that, okay, I'm gonna have to do a little bit more of X, Y, and Z because I can't handle X, Y. I can't handle A, B, C. I can't do too much of this because I know that if I get like that, then I turn into something a whole like I turn into a whole other person. And honestly, I think consecrating and separating is perfect because I think that the best way for you to really lock in and hone in on something, whether it be a skill, whether if you're learning something, whether you're preaching, playing an instrument, preaching, whatever, building something, whether it be a business or whatever, sometimes separating is the best thing because you, separating sometimes it will eliminate the outside noise. It will eliminate, you know, the noise of all of a sudden it seems like when you want to do something, all of a sudden all these people are trying to pull on you. And you be like, now when I was available to do stuff, when I had nothing going on, it seemed like nobody gave me any kind of attention. Ain't nobody paying no mind. Nobody was asking me nothing. Now I'm trying to pursue something. Now I'm trying to get into stuff, and it seems like everybody's trying to pull me. Everybody's calling me. It's almost like with a relationship, right? It's like when you were single, your phone was dry, your DMs was dry, nobody looked your way. But when you start dating, you start posting pictures of you with your significant other. Y'all, people see y'all on dates on your stories. You posting happy birthday posts with your significant other. Now all of a sudden, everybody's hearting your pictures. Everybody's hearting your stories. You know, you post a selfie, all of a sudden the people that you didn't never see before, all of a sudden they got eyes on you. Like what? But you gotta lock in. And sometimes locking in includes separation. And of course, the purpose of these streams is not necessarily separating from people, but I do feel like there are often times where you got to know who you're separating from. You got to know who you need to be like. You know what? I'm trying to do something. I have a goal. I can't be around this right now. I'll catch y'all in a little bit. I'll catch y'all when I'm done doing X, Y, and Z. For real. You know. And I think it's easy for me. Again, everybody's different, but I think it's easy for me to even say that in a way because I'm introverted. So like it's not hard for me to lock into a point where like I can be by myself. I'm an only child. I can work by myself. I'll say it like this. Sometimes it's difficult for me even at work because if I'm working with somebody else, I'm not very communicative. Not because I don't like the person, not because, I don't care, about what they got going on because we both working. We working together. But a lot of times my boss gotta remind me, hey, he puts in an email, hey, don't forget to, communicate. If y'all got questions or y'all, trying to figure something out, communicate. Communicate with your driver, communicate with your coworker, you know, if there's some kind of instruction that you're getting from the people around you in the store, communicate that to your coworker. Make sure you guys are in the loop, like for real. And that was the funny thing is that was actually on my review last year, on my work review, being transparent. Again, you know that was on my review. You know, Brandon works very well, but we would like to see more. We would like to see more of, you know, him kind of, you know, taking the lead sometimes, being a little bit more vocal. In that case, I got to lock in, being more intentional, especially when I've been at my job for about 3 or 4, and maybe 4 years. 4 or 5 years, you know, you gotta lock in because there's also a new expectation. Because of your tenure, I gotta lock into the fact that okay, when we get new hires, they're gonna look to me because I've been there longer. They're trying to figure stuff out. So, you know, they see me as okay, he's been here a while. Let me go to him because he knows. You know what I mean? So it's reverse for me. Some people, you got to get out. You got to kill some of the noise. For somebody like me who's introverted, I have to learn how to lock in a way of okay, putting myself out there, putting myself out there, so that again, establish some kind of leadership quality within myself. So again, when there's new hires or there's people that's coming on board or there's people that's new or people that don't really know the in and outs of what we're doing, I got to be able to tell them, you know, staying locked in, focused. Again, discipline's the main thing. You know, I feel like sometimes we test ourselves a lot, and it's like, okay, you can't take this, but you going to do it anyway because you want to see how far you can go. Like, nah, that, mm-mm, mm-mm. And I'm glad, because I've grown. Like I've grown. Like I said in the beginning of this, there are times where you know I literally would be playing drums and I'll mess up. First of all, I had some insecurity issues, major ones, but you know, all it would take was for me to mess up one time. You know, all it would take for me to do was mess up one time, and then I'm just like, oh my gosh, like this is blowing me. Like, oh my gosh, and I'm kind of down the whole service. Like, huh, like let's get this over with so we can just be done. Cause let's try again next week. Mm-mm. You know what I mean? So I'm just really glad that I've grown from that because that's not something that you want to really make a habit of. Locking in is a mindset. Locking in is, really making up in your mind that in order to me to be effective the way I want to be effective, there's some stuff I got to push aside. If I got to deal with it later, cool. But right now, like this is where I'm at. I'm pursuing this. I'm starting this. I'm building this. I can't allow outside noise, whether it be comparison, whether it be what I see online, whether it's, what I'm dealing with a family member or whether it's something I'm working on at home. Like locking in is all about your focus and where you lend your attention. Seriously. Seriously. I'm not gonna lie. When I was in high school, I was not locked in. I'm just being 100. I was not locked in. I was worried about too many other things. We're not gonna get into that. But I was locked into too many other things that had nothing to do with what I was at school for. And because of that, I saw it in my grades. I saw it in, how how I, you know, did my work in class. Because I'm not gonna lie, I've had my driver's license for 5 years. Just keeping it real, or maybe 4 years. I was in school doing driver's ed. Again, all these stories, all this keeping it real is crazy. But I had driver's ed. I had the course. We had to do these different assignments for like a week. We had something for every day. We had an assignment for every day, and they were worth a certain amount of points. My goofy tail was taking that joint for granted. I was not locked in, and it didn't help that I didn't like school. So on top of that, the one class that every high schooler, every underclassman gets hyped for, I'm approaching it like, these drivers did okay. Like, mind you, that's the one course, that's the one class that every ninth and 10th grader wants to take and pass. And it was the easiest one outside of phys ed. Like that's like the easiest class to take. There's nothing there's nothing complex about it. He literally the driving teacher literally gives you an assignment. You have to have a certain amount of points in order to go into the next part of the class. And after that part, it's just smooth sailing. It's nothing, you know what I mean? At that, of course, you have to have a certain amount of, credits, whatever, for driving. And, before you know it, you can be a licensed driver at 16, 17 years old. I took it for granted. I wasn't locked in. I treated it as if it wasn't a priority. Like I didn't really care for it. I learned my lesson after that because for all those years, and of course, I was also low-key afraid to drive because I never like had any like real practice before. But even with that, it's like I wasted my own time. I wasted my own time. So, you know, because I wasn't locked in, I had to wait 17, 18, 19, 20, 26. I had to wait about 13, 14 years just to get my license. Because even after high school, it took me a while to get it. To even get my learner's permit, it took me a while. Wasn't locked in. You know what I mean? So that lets you know that again, being locked in is like it's a phrase that we use now, but for real, if you don't have that mental space of really being focused on what you need to accomplish, you know, you will let certain things distract you. For some people, their comfort distracts them. You just cool doing whatever you're doing. Like it's easy for you. So it's like why change it? Why go in a different direction? I know what I'm doing. I'm familiar with the people. I'm familiar with the people I'm working with. I'm familiar with what I'm doing. It works for me, you know. I'm locked in because and I'm gonna say this too. Just because you're good at something, that does not mean you're locked in. Being gifted and being locked in are not the same. Because you can literally be doing something just because you're gifted. You can be effective, even effective at something, just because you're gifted. Okay, it's all you know. You can do it in your sleep. You can be high and you can still be effective. Okay, but imagine how effective that you would be if you were locked in to where your thoughts were clear, how you thought changed, your perception of things changed. Imagine how locked in you would be and effective you would be if you realized just how effective you were when your conscience was clear. Like like and I'll say because I'm a musician, you're you a beast musician when you got stuff going on in your life But imagine how it is or how it would be if like you killing and and your mind is in the right places and you're sober and you're able to think clearly, you're able to articulate clearly. Imagine that. Like, yo, locking in, locking in. And it's just like I said, I've been through this before because I know what it is to not lock in. And when you don't lock in, it doesn't just affect you, it affects those around you, you know? And I just hope that someone got something from this because again, like it's just something about being able to see things clearly, not just operating off of hype, zeal, you know. And it's cool to have zeal. It's cool to love what you do. But we're living in a world people have no problem taking advantage of that. People have no issue with using your love for what you do, or you loving your gift, or you loving, the love for what you're called to do. People have no issue, you know, taking advantage of that. People have no issue with that. So yeah, man, like it's locking in is a big deal. Knowing what you need a break from is a big deal. Being aware of that is a big thing in itself because again, you don't want to trick yourself into thinking that you can handle certain things because it creates a cycle. Like, oh, I messed up again. I thought I could handle that. Oh, I thought I could. I thought I could. I thought I knew how to do that. I thought I knew how to get around that. Nope, nope. That's not no. Sometimes you do need accountability. Sometimes you do need somebody that's going to be like, yo, bro, that ain't it. That ain't it. Sometimes you need somebody to take accountability of you and be like, hey, remember, you're not just doing this for so and so. You're not just doing this for you. Like this ain't affecting you. You got kids, you got a family, you got a house, you got people depending on you, you got people watching you. Sometimes you have to be reminded of why you have to lock in. Sometimes you got to be reminded of, exactly why you have to, you know, remain focused. You have to be reminded of why you can't let the outside noise influence your decisions or influence how you approach the things that, you build or things that you take part of. You know, if that's accountability is important too. Because for some people, you're not good when it's just up to you. I know, there's a song called, Encourage Yourself, but sometimes you need somebody to be like, yo, that ain't it. Why you doing that? Sometimes you need somebody to be like, nah, before you do that, remember what you got going on over here. Remember what you got to lose. Think about what you're going to lose if this happens. If you get caught up in this, sometimes you need somebody to ask you, you need to, what are you going to gain? There was some person, before I got married, actually before I even met my wife or before we even got like locked in for real. It's ironic. Um, I was dating someone, right? And I'm not gonna lie, I was young. I didn't know what I wanted. I wasn't sure. And Me and the girl, we were dating, having fun, but she was ready to like be like a thing. Nothing wrong with that. I wasn't necessarily against it, but I just didn't know what I wanted to do on my end. You know, it had gone on for long enough, and I kind of did start feeling bad. Like, dang, like I can, I need to make a decision. So I'm talking to my best friend. I'm talking to my best friend. He was the best man at my wedding. My boy Devin. Um, we're talking about it. I was like, yo, like I don't know what to do. Like, she wanna be with me. I just don't know what to do. Like I keep going back and forth. I just don't know what I want to do. You know, she also had a kid. She had a kid, and there's no disrespect to her or her kid because you know everybody's different in what their preferences are. But he said something my boy said something in a funny way, but I don't think he was trying to be funny, but he just kind of said it, and to me it was just like I got an epiphany almost. Um, he pretty much was just like, it's so extra, but just stay with me now. He pretty much was like, "Are you ready to be a stepdad?" Now it's funny because me and the girl were nowhere near like we not talking about marriage at all, but just the fact that like thinking dating wise, like if you're dating somebody with a kid, like that's a thing. Like you can't like when you're dating somebody with a kid, you can't be on some like, well, we can't do it because you got your kids or you got to do something with your kid before. No, and I think respectfully, I knew at that moment when he asked me that, I was like, yeah, I gotta lock in, and I can't. That's not really in the cards for me. Like that's not really something I can do. I can't see myself dating somebody with a kid. That's just not me. Maybe somebody else can handle that, but like I'm an only child. Like I don't even remember having to babysit somebody when I was younger. So I wouldn't know what to do. And the thing is like this, she was well off, in a way. She was good. She had money, so she wasn't looking for a stepdad. Like she wasn't looking for somebody to take care of her kid. Like that wasn't her thing. She didn't need that from me or for any dude. But I also had to understand that again, you can't accept dating a woman and think that like, oh, her kid is just gonna be like to the wayside while she nah. So even in making that decision, I had to lock in and be like, okay, I have to make sure that I'm ready for that because there's going to be a point where when me and her are hanging out, this is me thinking about this back then. If me and her are hanging out, there's going to be a point where she's not going to always take him somewhere for him to be watched or babysat. He going to be right along with us. And I can't be acting like I'm like I can't do that because that's not fair. Dating a woman with a kid, that's a package deal. You can't just be like, oh, I guess we have to just go with the kid. Have the kid come with us too. Like, nah, that ain't no, because that ain't fair. And I think that's what kind of made me lock in and really think like, okay, that made me making the decision very very easy because that question that he posted, even though it was kind of extra, like stepdad, it was extra, but at the same time, like I had to understand, like there's something like it's something to consider. That was something to consider, not just dating her, not just being with her. Like, nah, she got a kid. You can't not weigh that option. You can't not consider that. You can't not, think about that and have that be a thought in your mind. Like, you can't not just be like, okay, oh well, she'll figure it out. Like, no, like that's something that's gonna become a part of your life as well. Y'all ain't getting married, of course, but at the same time, that's still something that you have to also worry about. Seriously, you know what I mean? So again, another example of locking in. Locking in will make a difference in your decision making as well. It will make you really, again, it'll make you think clear. Once you isolate from what you think is it's going to benefit you with, when you separate from what you're getting from something, you got to make it, it helps you figure out, okay, is it worth it? Okay, it feels good when I do this, but is it worth it? Okay, it gets me hyped up. Okay, but is it worth it? It makes me turn up, but is it worth it? Consecration, taking time out. It's like a consecrate. It's like a sacred thing. It's like a sacred thing. You can't just no. If you're gonna consecrate, you gotta make sure you just get away from all the noise. Even your lunch break is a time of consecration. I thought about that earlier today before I got on here. Even your lunchtime, your lunch break at work is consecrational, if that's a word. Let me look that up. Hold on. Let's see. Okay. All right. It's not a real word, but that's a form of consecration. How? Because when you're on your lunch break, let's say, okay, you work at a cubicle, or because people still have their lunch break. I'll say, like, when you're working at a cubicle, right, and your job is to answer the phone. Once you get on lunch break, aka consecration time, you are not answering no phone calls during that time. For that 30 minutes to an hour, you are not answering phone calls. You are not thinking about, you know, the next caller in the queue. Mm-mm. You're taking time away from that to indulge in something else, to debrief, to take a break from, to collect yourself. So again, sometimes consecration it helps. Not even sometimes, it just helps. It helps. Knowing, and a lot of times again, a lot of times locking in is also realizing when you need to when you need to take time out, when you need to take a break, when you need to not be a workaholic, when you need to not have sleepless nights because you just trying to get something done. No, sometimes, that consecration time, take time aside from what you're just doing nonstop. Instead of going on social media, sometimes the consecration is okay. Instead of doing that, read a book. Consecration is okay. Instead of, you know, trying to, you know, get something done around the house, take a break and, you know, why don't you go watch a movie? Go watch a movie, you know, anything, anything, anything. And again, lastly, if I can encourage anybody with anything, it would be to stay focused. Stay focused. Because, like I said before, things have a, th- people and things have a way of coming at you when you're trying to move forward. Things have a way of that's why it's important to even watch what you say, watch what you speak out of your mouth, because words have a way of coming back to you. I think I said this before. I remember one time, um, what is it called? Uh, Ludacris had a new album out. I can't remember what it was, but I remember it was the album where he had just cut his hair and he had a song called Slap. Rode the whole bus ride to school Listen, it's called Release Therapy. Listen to a whole song called Slap. Not too much long later, I think in my maybe third or fourth period class, I almost get in a fight with somebody. Sometimes you got to get rid of some of that. I don't want to say get rid, but sometimes you even have to um, consecrate yourself away from that from some music that you're listening to. I think sometimes people, I'm getting all into it again, but sometimes people, um, um, they underestimate the power of music. You know, music has music has some crazy because it's spiritual. That's for another day. But I just want to encourage somebody to stay focused because, like I said, things can and will hold you back if you don't hold yourself accountable to what the goal is. Seriously, I think, you know, it really does wonders when you're able to hone in on what you know you need to do. It's going to take some sacrifice too. It's going to take giving up some things and even some people. You're going to have to sometimes even, it may take fasting too. You're going to have to give up something. Consecrating may not, consecrating, isn't necessarily you giving up something. Consecrating is more so making space. Now, fasting, you got to give up something. And sometimes you're going to need one more than the other. But if both is needed, then, you know, hey, that's what it is. But I think that, you know, just stay the course and being focused. Don't let nothing distract you. Don't let a negative word distract you. Don't let a struggle distract you. Don't let an opinion distract you. Don't let you know anything anything that you think is that could get in your way. Don't let it distract you. Focus, focus. Thanks for tuning in tonight, y'all. I really felt that. Like really focus because it seems like in the world we're living in, with how these social media algorithms work now, distractions and things like things that can distract you and disappoint you and things that could throw you off, it's much more easy to run into it now. It's much more easier to come in contact with it's becoming much harder to avoid it, which is why again sometimes you gonna have to delete the app. I know when I'm fasting or concentrating for something, I have to even like take I may not delete the app, but I have to take the app off of my home screen and hide it because I'll develop a natural reflex to just scroll until I see the app icon and just press on it. For real. Don't lose your focus. Right. Thank y'all for tuning in tonight again. Um, again, thanks for Shay for giving me the opportunity to play for her worship night. I don't take it lightly. You know, I don't take it for granted at all. People don't have to love what you do. People don't have to call you. People don't have to think of you. I met some family, I mean, I met them already, but just reuniting with family, that was fun, you know, and I just, you know, I felt the love. I felt the love, but yeah, I just want to thank her for that. Right. So I'll be on next Monday. I'll put up a post about what I'm gonna talk about and all that stuff. You know, everybody that's on Twitch, thank you. To those on YouTube, thank you. Facebook, thank you. I don't know how long I'll be streaming on Facebook because I know um they delete our videos in like 2 weeks or like a month. So I don't know how long I'll be doing this on here, but I still believe in God. I'm gonna get a hookup to help, you know, navigate through Twitch. So I'm literally building from the ground up for Twitch. But yeah, all three of you and everybody else who was on here and who engaged and said what's up, thank you. I love everybody. Again, I'm excited to see what God's gonna do with this. You know, he's gonna do it up big for me because I'm expecting big. So thank y'all so much, and I'll see y'all next Monday.